I tried the full-on rice and beans, don't have any fun, don't buy any sparkly earrings. How dare you even have any joy in your life? Welcome back to Wine and Chill. I'm Stephanie, your favorite recovering lawyer, and every month, once a month, because we're back on track, I go over my progress on how much I've paid towards my 6-figure student loan payoff. So, this is the oldest series on my channel. If you're new here, I have been paying off my student loans for the past 4 years. I went to law school. I am now a recovering lawyer. However, law school cost me a lot of money. So let's get into it. Our agenda is going to be what I paid in June. This is always retroactive. So we are in July. This is coming out in July. Small claps for myself. I'm proud of me. Then we're going to talk about inflation, shrinkflation, and budgeting. So usually the way this series started, we used to talk about a financial topic and what I paid, and then what y'all paid, how it's going, your student loan payoff, and that dovetailed into talking about potential student loan forgiveness while we had the whole, carrot dangled in front of us that didn't come to fruition for the majority of us. It's fine. I'm happy for y'all that qualify under PSLF. Public Service Loan Forgiveness. The rest of us, child, we still here. We're still here. And now I figured since we are not going to get the forgiveness that was promised to us, we should go back to talking about the financial topics as well in this series. So today we're going to talk about shrinkflation and budgeting, and really how I realized our grocery budget has grown, but the amount of food we're consuming is the same. So we're going to talk about that, and then a little bit about a conscious spending plan, which the conscious spending plan, I don't know if he's the first person that came up with it, but he essentially, you can get a free download from Ramit Sethi. He has a great YouTube, highly recommend watching it, as well as a Netflix show I've talked about on here a few times called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. I personally think the branding of that, it gives gimmicky. However, he actually does give really good advice. So I think it is doing what he wants it to do. But at first you're kind of like, what in the scam is this? It's actually really good. So I went and downloaded the conscious spending plans. I'm trying to get back on my budgeting. And it was interesting. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So we're going to talk about that. All right, so what I paid in June, finally back on track, not with the big money for the month of June. The big money is coming in July. So in June, I paid $255. My starting balance, if you are new here, after many years of predatory interest, my starting balance when I began to pay my student loans off February 14th, 2020 was $304,680 and 17 trifling cents. My remainder balance after June's payment is $148,518.97 trifling cents, which brings my estimated total paid in 4 years to $165,549.63 hard-earned pennies. So obviously, the majority of my payments for the majority of these years have been a lot more than $255. I'm excited for the month of July. If all of my receivables come back in as they should, I'm finally going to get to a little 5-figure payment, which will be the first one in a long time. And I'm excited about that. It also feels kind of interesting, different, a little weird to finally be excited about a payment again, because last month I told y'all I had hit a little bit of what is the word? Indifference. I'd hit indifference. Which if you are on a long-term student loan payoff plan, it's normal, it's fine. It happens because this is abnormal. Most countries do not charge their students let's see, the highest one, it's on my wall, 7.21% in interest. It should be noted that the highest interest rate I had for all my student loan payments was my trifling Sallie Mae student loan. That was a 10% interest rate. That was one of the first student loans I paid off. So yeah, I have 3 remaining, and fingers crossed, it's not going to happen in the month of July, but I think either in August or September, one of those 3 will finally be done. And that one is my student loan number 15. I ordered them. And the starting balance, I'm looking over here, I'm reading it. Let me pick up the mic so y'all still hear crisp and clear. That starting balance on that I actually borrowed for law school was $52,400. $521.87 trifling cents. It's down to 15 grand. In the month of July, fingers crossed, I will be making a large payment. It's in my budget to make the large payment. The interesting thing about when you are a full-time content creator, you are essentially a freelance contract person. So you have to wait for people to pay you. So as long as the people then pay me on time, I will be making a significant dent. So that way, next month, I can tell y'all how much it is. Let's get into budgeting and shrinkflation and inflation. So inflation has gone down, allegedly, according to all these reports, to 3%. However, my pocket doesn't feel that way. My pocket still feels, that it's a bit too high. And the reason for that, I have realized, is due to shrinkflation. So if you're not familiar, I don't know if we've ever talked about it on this channel. We might have talked about it on Instagram. Shrinkflation is essentially when you are buying the same consumer good. So Gatorade, for example, was accused of this, and it used to be 32 ounces and now it is 28 ounces, but you are paying either the same price or more money and you are getting less. They are literally shrinking the products of lots of things. The Bureau of Labor Statistics found that 10% of inflation on many household goods comes from shrinkflation practices. And this has come to my attention glaringly in my face because I finally decided, Gabriel and I decided that we were going to go through our budget and do the conscious spending plan from Ramit Sethi. It's interesting, I would say, like as a side note, combining your shared financial goals with somebody else. We've always had like insight into each other's finances. I think that's very important. When you're dating somebody, you want to make sure the money is not funny for what it's worth. However, we've never sat down and full on said like, hey, this is how much we have in everything at one time. This is how much we're both spending because we split everything 50-50. This is how much we're actually spending in groceries. This is how much we're actually spending on these various bills, etc. We kind of just swap the card every other week. So it was interesting to go through and pull up like, okay, what did Chase Bank say I spent? And then what did your bank say you spent? And last month we spent $699 in groceries for 2 people. It should be noted that he's quite large. So he eats a lot. In my spirit and in my mind, I'm 6'7". So therefore I eat a lot as well. We love food. Okay, all the food was eaten. That's fine. I have no qualms with that. However, I don't recall the two of us ever paying $700 for groceries. For the same groceries. It's not like all of a sudden we're buying filet mignon. And the reason that our grocery bill is so high partially is due to shrinkflation. The thing that makes me most upset, honestly, besides our grocery bill, because it's gotten out of hand, our grocery used to be like $550, $600 for what it's worth, which wasn't bad because it also costs more to buy vegetables. They're expensive. To buy wild caught fish, I don't want any of this questionable farm raised fish. I don't want it. Especially particularly as somebody from Miami, the fish tea is funny. You know what? Y'all have bared with my gripes about the grapes all these years. Do not get me started about my gripes about the seafood in New York. After 10 years of living in New York, I have serious questions as to why a place that literally is home to one of the largest ports in America, the seafood is spoiling after a day. The quality is not there. I miss my good, fresh Miami seafood, and I live in New Orleans, great seafood. I digress. Back to what we're talking about, shrinkflation. So besides my grocery bills being $699, aka $700, and that really pissing me off, the other thing that honestly makes me really upset is that corporations are posting record profits for the groceries that they're upcharging us on. At this point, I'm ready for our government, the people whose salary we pay, to actually regulate these corporations so that way they stop price gouging us. And I can afford a little bit more in my budget. At least let the produce last a little longer. That's a separate conversation. One of the things that has not impacted, I would say, our area directly yet is, have y'all heard about dynamic pricing? I'm very curious about this. And the reason why all this is coming up, because how are you supposed to make a budget if the price of everything keeps changing? So dynamic pricing, similar to surge pricing. So when you go on Uber or on Lyft, they tell you like, hey, it's 7 p.m. Everybody and their mama wants to be out. So now we're going to charge you X amount percentage. They charge you more. There are various food retailers as well as grocery stores that want to bring dynamic pricing to a food department near you. Why? What is the reason? Wendy's first and foremost announced dynamic pricing and that they would change the prices depending on whether or not there was more demand. Social media outrage caused them now to take a step back from that, but not before Walmart could introduce, and this is according to New York 4, Walmart was also recently criticized over its decision to roll out digital shelf labels, higher tech price tags that allow it to quickly and easily change prices. The retailer said last month that it would add technology to more of its stores and plans to have them in 2,300 locations, or roughly half of its US footprint by 2026. On TikTok, some saw the move as the first step towards the nation's largest retailer using dynamic pricing similar to Uber's surge pricing. Walmart, on the other hand, said the new price tags will cut a tedious task from store workers' to-do lists. Digital shelf labels are designed to save time, Walmart spokeswoman Cristina Rodriguez said. They have LED lights that blink to guide store workers who are restocking items or to help them find products for a customer's online order. They eliminate the need for store workers to swap out traditional paper tags. She also continued to say Walmart has no plan to change the frequency or implement different pricing methods. For now. You know what's really interesting, disheartening, and honestly like a little bit frightening? There are no Walmarts in New York City, so I have no need to be in a Walmart. Whenever I'm back home, I'm like, wow, look, Walmart. It's a wild place. The concept of Walmart is so... If you're old enough to remember before Walmart was in every town in America, the concept of Walmart is such a wild thing. You can go into a place and buy, depending on where you live, buy liquor, buy guns, buy grapes. All in one roof. One of the reasons why I'm bringing this up is the only way to curtail corporations from doing this is A, to, get the government to pay attention. And then B, also is to somewhat keep a track of your budget. So that way you know firsthand when, you're getting taken for a ride. The reason why I know that $699 is not our normal grocery budget, because I have the budgets from before and I can see what we used to pay. I haven't checked it for what it's worth in like 7 months. And I think that's why the sticker shock is really slapping me. I'm like, how can two people be eating all this food? And yet here we are eating all this food. And that is because the price has run away. Which brings me back to the conscious spending plan. One of the things that I learned when I started the student loan payoff journey 4 years ago, I can't believe it's been 4 years, is that A, because I had 6 figures of debt, $304,000, let's read the number, $304,680.17 trifling cents. A lot of freaking money. This is not going to get paid off in a year. This is not going to be paid off in 2 years. If I, plan accordingly, maybe I can pay this off in 4 to 5 years. We're at year 4, and that has included a career change on my end, so that has changed the trajectory a little bit, but I still could technically get it to 5 years. That's my goal. Now, with that, one of the main things when you start your debt payoff journey, if you are just now starting, take heart. It's going to be all right. Don't let my misery, make you feel miserable. I've been doing this for a long time, for what it's worth. Let it hearten you for the fact that I've stayed on this journey, and hopefully you don't owe as much. But with that being said, a lot of the financial gurus, particularly Dave Ramsey, who is a problematic person, and I have many videos saying that he's a problematic person. He is usually the first person, though, when you are thinking about debt payoff. He has really cornered that market. If you type it into the Google, into YouTube, his face will pop up. And he will tell you, these are my steps for you to pay off your debt. One of those steps is that you do not invest anything whatsoever for your future until you have paid off the debt. That was the one thing that I ignored. I tried the full-on rice and beans, don't have any fun, don't buy any sparkly earrings, how dare you even have any joy in your life. I tried it for about 7 months. The first 7 months of doing this, it was not enjoyable. It was rough. It did not make me want to continue, which is why I then adjusted to have a little fun. Do I have more fun now than I used to? Yeah. I have adjusted. I need to adjust back to a little bit more strictness for what it's worth. But that level of strictness, most people cannot stomach that for more than a year. Maybe 2 years. It's unnecessary. Life is worth living. You have to live your life and budget for a little bit of fun and then prioritize the majority towards the debt payoff. The most I ever was at, I think it was like 75. We can look back in the tape. 75 50% of my check was going towards my debt payoff. Back when I lived in a little tiny studio, that wasn't fun. I had the money for what it's worth. I was a lawyer in tech, but not being able to spend any of my paycheck on myself, I didn't enjoy. Now, the reason why I ignored his don't invest in your future, aka your retirement, the older version of you is not gonna like work any more than this version of you. The older version of me, I'm pretty sure she's allergic to labor. I know she is. Future me is like, girl, if you don't invest that money, we're gonna squabble. We are going to scrap in the street, proverbially. So I always invested in my 401k. I had a good 401k match. I've since opened a Roth IRA last year and a brokerage account separately as well. I am so glad I did that. And honestly, because it was set on autopilot for the past 4 years, not that I forgot that I did it, I just never really focused on it too much. It was just something that I had done for myself in future planning, and then I kind of just removed it to my mind because for what it's worth, the debt is very consuming in terms of my financial journey. Now, when I think of my money, I'm stressed, and I'm stressed because of the debt. Or I'm indifferent. It depends on the day. Last week when y'all caught me, or last month, I was indifferent. I'm back to a varying level of like, I'm kind of stressed, but it's fine. I don't really think about the positives of the money of like, oh, look what I put aside for myself. So I say all that to say, doing the conscious spending plan, there's an entire section of what are your assets? How much do you have in your retirement accounts, etc. Doing that exercise made me realize I got a lot of money. A little bit of money, a little bits of lots of bits of money in my retirement account. I knew it was there, but when you set it and forget it on something, you kind of forget that it's there. Because every month I do check all of my numbers, but because it never took up so much space in my mind, I don't think I gave myself any credit for doing that for myself. And honestly, as somebody who is approaching $0 net worth, and it will happen probably next month or the month after, I'm very excited. Your net worth is your assets minus your liabilities. To be excited to be at $0 is also hilarious. And I'm excited because if I had just focused all of my stuff on the debt, I would be closer to being debt free. I probably would only owe 20, 30 grand. No, I probably would owe like 50 grand now. But then I would be so behind in terms of retirement. In terms of like, okay, so like when is, 60-year-old me gonna be all right? Now I'm like, okay, I'm on the path for 60-year-old me, preferably, to be honest, 50-year-old me, maybe 45. I've been doing a lot of labor. I'm tired to be all right. And I'm so excited about that. And this is the first time I would say in a while, in like a couple months, where I'm actually excited about my finances, excited about the fact that like, okay, I see the end goals. I can make new goals. I will not only get out of this debt to just have $0. By the time I get out of the debt, I will have a cute little sum in a few of these accounts that I can continue to grow on till, maybe I'll get a little financial independence in my life, which, coming from a family that hasn't seen that, it's a nice feeling. So I said all that to say, and I'm going to have to watch this back and make sure it's coherent and makes sense. If you are starting your student loan journey, or you're midway through, or you're almost at the end, make sure you're also investing in your future self. Debt can be so all-consuming, so frustrating, so mind-numbing, so disheartening that completely focusing on it and not paying your future self any attention will really bite you in the ass later. It will. And I'm really glad that 4 years ago, I made that decision and was like, hey, you're going to have to put some money away for future you. And now 4 years later, future me is like, oh, thank God I did that. Because getting to just zero is not actually zero. So by the time my liabilities get to zero, I actually have a decent amount of assets. And I love that for me. I really do. I really do. So yeah. Let me know if y'all want to we could talk more about that as well. I would say I've gotten so much great information from the internet. I have never paid for a course from anybody to tell me, yes, the Vanguard Total Stock Index Fund is the one for you. I don't know why people are selling courses on things that they used to give for free, but I have throughout the years always listed out people who, I've learned investing, very basic level stuff. I'm not crypto, nothing, no fast gains, nothing of that nature. Very, very simple. So if y'all want to discuss more of that, we can discuss more of that as well. So I appreciate y'all. On that note, let me see, make sure I don't have anything else in my notes. And I will catch y'all later. Oh, and I almost forgot. So at the end, I always ask, how's everyone doing? How your student loan payoff journey going? Last month, there were a few people that stated that they were almost finished. So kudos to y'all. I think a few people should have this month or will be finishing off their student loan payments. So excited for y'all. Whenever I see people who have paid off their student loans or have gotten some type of student loan forgiveness, whether that's through PSLF, that makes me excited because I'm like, well, at least one less person suffering. Thank goodness. So hopefully I'll be on that train soon. And I will be very excited in next month's video once my money comes in to finally, give these people a large chunk of change. So I'll catch y'all in the next video. Bye. Oh, I forgot the wine glass. I'm not getting up. It's not happening.